When you first put a sample into the SPD-S, it'll be assigned to Polyphonic Mode. That means that if you play the sample, then you play the sample again, the second playing will play over the first playing and you'll have both together, like this.
No TV and no beer make Homer. No beer make Homer. And no beer make Homer.
In this particular instance, that makes a complete mess of the sample and it isn't what I want. I want it to play the sample, and if I play it again, I want the first playing to stop. We can choose how a particular sample behaves by making sure we're in wave mode, going into Edit, choosing the first option, which is Wave Setup. And the first option is single. You have a choice between that and, if we use the plus button here, the phrase marker. To be quite honest with you, it's not going to make an awful lot of difference unless you have an awful lot of samples assigned to one particular patch. Because the SPD-S can only play a certain number of voices at a time, it has to choose which voices will drop out if it runs out of space. And it will drop out samples that are set to single before it drops out samples that are set to phrase. Because obviously if you have a repeating phrase going on, you don't want that to drop out, but it doesn't make any difference if a short percussive sound drops out. So we'll have this set to single, so we'll use the minus button there. Press the right arrow, and now you have a choice to assign it to poly, which is polyphonic, which is what we had before, where one sample plays over the top of the first sample that keeps going. We're going to change that from polyphonic, use the minus key here, and we'll choose mono instead. We can test that works by playing the sample and then playing it again quickly, and you'll hear that the first playing stops.
No TV and no beer. No TV and no beer make Homer. Something.
Use the all sound off key there to stop it. While we're here, we can look at some of the other options we've got for playing around with the way that the waves behave. Use our right arrow here to choose loop. In this case it's off, but if we were to use the plus button there to turn it on, when we play the sample, when it gets to the end, it'll just keep playing and play again and again and again. Next option is reverse. Obviously if we use the plus button here and play the sample, stop that, you can hear it reverses the sample. We don't want that, so we'll turn it back off again. The next option, if you use the right arrow, is trigger. And in this case it's set to shot, which is the normal behaviour. You play the sample and hitting the pad again will just play the sample again.
No TV and no TV and no...
If we change that behaviour from shot to alt by pressing the plus button, we'll find that if we play the sample by hitting the pad, the second time we hit the pad it will stop the sample.
No TV and
the last option we've got is to name the sample. If we use the right arrow again, you can see this one's called Go Crazy. We can go up the letters by using the plus button, down the letters by using the minus button. We can go to the next letter along by using the right arrow, or the previous letter by using the left arrow. And you can see that if we continue to use the plus button, we'll go from capital letters to lowercase letters. If we use the shift and the plus button, we'll go to the next bank of types of characters. So in this case we've gone from lowercase to numerals, and then do the shift plus again, we're going into symbols, so exclamation marks, hash signs, etc. And if we use the shift plus again, right to the end, we get a space. So to recap that, plus and minus to change the characters, up and down, left and right arrow keys to change which letter you're altering, and shift plus and shift minus to go up to different types of letter. So right the way to the beginning, there's capital A. If we do shift plus, we've got lowercase a, then 0, so we can go through the numeric characters, then symbols, then space. We'll put this back to where we started from, so let's just change these characters back. Otherwise I'll have no idea which sample it is I'm playing with. Okay, left arrow to finish with it. Put the trigger back to shot. Just check I've left these where I want it. I don't want it reversed. I don't want it to loop. I want it to play once, and then if I play it again, I want it, the first one to stop, and I only want it set as single. Once I've checked that's right, I'll just press exit a few times, and now I can use the sample in the way that I intended.
No TV and 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 no beer make Homer something something.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do. What?
So you can see I take this really, really seriously. The way you've set up that wave to behave will affect the way it behaves in each of the patches to which you have it assigned. So it's a bit of a global setting. If you want to have the sample behave differently in different patches, you'll need to make a copy of the sample and then set them up differently.